Welcome back if you're a real one. In today's video, we're going to take a look at our favorite android, Super 17, and see just how good he was through the years of Dokkan. Well, Super 17 had a very controversial release back in April 2017. His first introduction to the game as a Dokkan Fest card. He was seen by many as the worst Neo leader. His damage reduction wasn't good enough to tank unless you had dupes, and his damage was good but only once you've been hit 4 times. At the time of his release, he also was the only Neo leader to not have a star return attack or defensive boost. Nonetheless, he was the first Neo leader for Extreme AGL buffing units like Rose or the LR Android, who were pretty much your only good options at the time. His link set was also decent, even though people were mad he didn't get big bad bosses. He had multiple key links, making it very easy for him to super attack. He was also one of Merge Zamasu's best linking partners, sharing 4 links with him, but unfortunately the only thing they shared together was the outdated Extreme class team. Alongside AGL Super 17, we got 2 new SRs androids of it that awakened into Super 17, and they were good. They had big bad bosses, contrary to their Dokkan Fest counterpart, and were orb changers. They were very good in their respective extreme teams. They had really good villain links like big bad bosses, Nightmare or Fear and Fate, and since they awakened with AGL Super 17 Dokkan Fest medals, they had First Battle. Tech Super 17 was also the perfect linking partner for Merge Zamasu, and they actually shared a decent team together being extreme tech. And since he had the ability to orb change, he was a huge buff for units like Tech Perfect Cell or Super Sentry Broly. Physical Super 17 was a good linking partner for Physical Black as well as an orb change, but that too wasn't as strong as the Merge Zamasu and Tech Super 17. This was also the year we had our first 10 Super Battle stages, and Super 17 was pretty good there. He could tech very well if you had dupes. As year passed by, the meta shifted to category leaders, and unfortunately, Super 17 was already outdated by the time he got his first category. So he pretty much got left in the dust until 2020, where AGL Super 17 got his easy, but it was worth the wait. That easy was incredible. Like, sure, he wasn't great from the start, but none of the units were at the time. But fully built up, that guy was crazy. He had 70% damage reduction and greatly raised defense on Super, meaning that post Super you simply couldn't take damage, even in the hardest events at the time, being the Legendary Goku event and Extreme Super Battle World. But not only was he a monster defensively, his offense was nothing to laugh at. Fully built up, he had a 150% star return attack buff. Couple that with his ECS stats and SC50 defense multiplier, and this guy was cooking, my boy. By the time, he also had multiple new categories like Artificial Life Force or Target Goku. And since the guy was pretty self-sufficient, you could just have him as a decent floater on any ways. We also had the Link skill revamp that year, a huge buff for Super 17s. So now all the killings that they had also gave additional stats or buffs. Android Assault also became a top tier link, giving 2 key and 20% defense at link level 10. If only AGL Super 17 had big bad bosses at the time. The following year, Super 17 got his first ever LR, and this guy might single-handedly be the reason why 2021 was known as the year of badly designed units. This guy's design was horrendous. He had GT bosses and androids, but was built to be ran around target Goku category units. He also had damage reduction, but only for 3 turns after the turn he received an attack. So every single time his buff wasn't up, he needed to wait a whole turn for it to be back up for only 3 turns. But that's not even the worst of it. He had a high chance of getting super attackers. A high chance. Like, why? What were they smoking that year? You had units like AGL MEI Goku who were simply God, and then this. And bro, I almost forgot, but this guy had an active skill. And to be honest, the active skill wasn't that bad, but the condition, he needed to be hit 7 times. And let me tell you something, this guy was not a slot one. Most of his buffs were actually calculated when attacking. Anyways, even with all his faults, Super 17 was still a decent unit. He actually helped me beat Extreme Tech Super Battle World back in the days. He just had a very questionable design. People were also debating who was better, easy AGL Super 17 or his LR counterpart. Luckily, the same name update that came that year solved this issue, since now you could run both of them without worrying about who to pick. And both Super 17s were decent in all the events that released. Moving into 2022, we had the great reset of the 7th year anniversary, introducing a new level of difficulty never seen before, as well as a new meta being centered around 200% leaders. AGL Super 17 was actually quite decent in the red zone, he just didn't have a good team under this, but fortunately that changed very quickly with the arrival of AGL Cell. Super 17 10k abilities were now more useful than ever, since very few units had the ability to take red zones per attack. Like sure, for him to take supers he needed to super first, but you mostly ran him as a floater anyway, so it really didn't matter matter that much. He was good in all the red zone stages, but could struggle in some wicked bloodline stages where enemies who are hitting very hard straight from the start. As for Cell Max, well, it's Cell Max. He hit God Goku who has 77% damage reduction for 300k. So yeah, there's nothing more to say. As the time I'm recording this video, it's March 2020, and we just got a new Super 17 Dokkan. He starts off as Android and Hellfire 17, a pretty decent unit and slot 2 or something, since he gets dodge per attack performed. Against a super class enemy, he can get up to 68% dodge, but as of now, all the hardest bosses in the game are extreme class. Nonetheless, transform, this guy is a monster. Super 17 has 51% damage reduction for his first 4 turns and builds his defense per attack received. Fully built up, this guy has 629% starter finish. I made some calculations, and fully built up with his 51% damage reduction, the only thing that can pingle that guy is Cell Max super attack, and when his additional 70% damage reduction wears off, things are slightly different. This guy is not that much of a tank pre-super anymore, but can still double-digit tanks anything post-super. And that's not even taking into account the fact that this guy nullifies E-Black super attack while under 70%. The HP restriction isn't that great, but as you saw, no super can actually one-shot this guy unless you're already below 70% HP. So it works fine for now. Anyways, this Super 17 is a huge buff for our old AGL Super 17. They share 7 links together, and he fits under Strength Super 17, 100% leader skill. So let's just see how good this guy tanks fully built up and linked with Strength Super 7. As you can see, it's not that bad. Post Super, he can hold his own against Broly and Metal Cooler Core, which is very impressive for a 2020 easy. In conclusion, Super 17 has had a crazy journey through the years of Dokkan. Initially released as a controversial Neo leader with underwhelming stats, he was left in dust as the meta shifted towards category leaders. However, with his easy in 2020, he became an absolute powerhouse defensively and offensively. Even with his badly designed LR counterpart in 2021, Super 17 remained a decent unit and continued to be a reliable tank in difficult events. In 2022, he found renewed relevance in the red zone with the arrival of AGL Super, and in 2023, his new Dokkan Fest card has cemented him as a top-tier unit. For it all, Super 17 has continued to prove his worth in a variety of challenges. I would love to tell you how excited I am to see what's next for Super 17, but we all know the next time we'll ever hear about this guy is with the easy of the LR Tech Super 17, who will surely not happen anytime soon. Anyways, thank you for staying until the end. Know that you're a real one and that I appreciate your support. If you're interested in seeing more, don't hesitate to click on the video right here.